Thank you for tuning in and welcome back to the Sandwich of Coherency. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this. Over the course of the past week, I'm sure you have seen that the White House has come out with what it's called Disinformation Governance Board. So why don't we go ahead and translate that into what it really is. The Biden administration's Ministry of Truth. I'm sure you all remember the memes during the Obama administration and everything beginning back in the day. They used to say things like 1984 was supposed to be a fiction novel, not a game plan. But it looks like it turns out to be a game plan for the Democratic Party. They are literally taking it right off the pages. And for everybody on the left whom voted for this administration, and those of you on the right that have been complicit with this administration, who are all up in arms now, this is what you brought forth. For those on the left that happen to be saying, yay, this is a good thing, we keep telling you, your people will not always be in charge. And I think that's a big fear and a big worry that people are having right now is the simple fact that the Democratic Party, from the top to the bottom, has shown over these past couple of years that they are willing to lie and cheat in order to ensure that they do not lose these midterm elections coming up. They understand. It's simply why they try to get rid of the filibuster. The thing that they called so racist, and again, in a cheap fashion, have to keep throwing it out. It's racist to black people, so we gotta get rid of the filibuster, considering they used it more times in one administration than anyone before them, whilst Trump was in office. And that seems to be the same occurrence with the Democrats time and time and time again. They spit in your face and tell you, oh, what these guys are doing is racist. Everything they're doing is racist to you. And then they turn around and do the same nonsense. Or they'll use those tactics to get their way. And then when the other people in parties say, oh, it's racist. But understand this. The Democratic Party has done nothing to benefit the American citizens. Okay, yes. Seems like every now and then they might get a nugget of truth out. But when you're only when you only have 0.01% success rate, in my opinion, that's not actual real numbers, but that's how it feels to me. Let me rephrase it. They've been successful at spending money endlessly. They've been successful at making American citizens poorer. But I don't want to go too far. I want to look at the reality of this. People who voted for this administration, you're getting your just desserts. The only problem is that you have made the rest of us that did not want this have to suffer it. Oh, now you're all up in arms. You can't afford to feed your children. You can't afford to pay your bills. But hey, at least you don't have to listen to any more mean statements by Donald Trump. At least you don't have to read any more mean tweets. You're fucking homeless now. But hey. You don't have to read any mean tweets from Donald Trump. You've got a president in office that's being proven from the beginning that he was corrupt, that he was in bed with foreign actors who have no qualms with attempting to destroy the United States. And he did it all for money. And it was so obvious that the media, left and right, made it a point to suppress the story until he was in office. Now that he's in office and it's almost impossible to have him removed. Now they can talk about it. And the reason I talk about this and I'm bringing this up is because they've named some wretch to be the head of this government disinformation board, their Ministry of Truth, part of the Department of Homeland Security, and the lady they chosen is absolutely known for disinformation. The lady they've chosen to head this is the same lady who said that everything that people were saying that was true is false. And this, we have to ask ourselves, one, this is partially why they're doing it, because Elon Musk bought Twitter. And they're worried that now they can't control the narrative, which is what they admitted to it to people in the beginning. They were working with social media platforms in order to control the narratives, in order to stop negative press and information about them being spread, i.e. to stop people from knowing the truth about what's going on. Now they're all up in arms. We have to call Elon Musk to come testify before Congress because we have to know what his plans are. It's a private business now. Ask yourself, what other companies will they do this for? We need to call their bosses in so that they can tell us what they plan on doing with the company. This is ridiculous. But it falls in line with the lady that the Biden administration wanted to put at the head of the OCC, Omarova, who said she wanted part of her scheme that she wants is to have a group that's dedicated to propaganda against the government, against banks, so that people will more or less believe what the government has to say about money and finance and banking, so that basically they can control you. They want a old USSR style economy. That's what she wants. Many people who think they want this, that think they want socialism, they want communism, weren't even born when it was really making a difference in people's lives. They don't understand what happened with the Berlin Wall. They're not aware of such things. They don't understand the problem that happened with East and West Germany after World War II. They don't understand what it's like to live in fear of a nuclear bomb, of knowing there's a chance you might never see your family again because they said something that the government didn't like, or they said something against the leader. And that's what we're coming to, because now we have the problem with Omarova and her financial board is you have a group of people that are not elected. You don't know whom this group are. You don't know whom these people are. They're not accountable to the American citizens. And that's what we have now with the Biden's Ministry of Truth. You have a bunch of people that are non-elected, that are not accountable to the people, that nobody knows whom they are. But what you have now are a bunch of individuals that get to put their ideology behind what is and what isn't, what you should and shouldn't read. And let's be honest with ourselves. Do you really think there will be any conservatives, any Republicans on this Ministry of Truth board that they have? Or do you think it's going to be a whole bunch of lefties, trans and twinks and everybody else that seems to be feeling like they're a victim and that the world is against them and everybody has to comply? Now they're starting off saying that, we're trying to fight misinformation about what's happening at the border and the Ukrainian-Russian scandal. What, you don't want people to find out any more of the truth about the fact that the United States has been sharing troop movement with China about Russia's doing so that it can get back to Russia, i.e. prolonging the conflict? Do you not want people to know that the United States is not sharing troop movement and military intel with the Ukrainians, making problems worse, i.e. extending the conflict? Or do you not want people to know that currently the United States has already let in over 836,000 quote unquote asylum seekers? The simple fact that the United States has illegal immigrants living on military bases, but you can't house the homeless citizens that paid taxes and lost everything in the United States because they got priced out, living in places like San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York. Oh, forget those people. You're American. Pull yourself up. Well, they were pulling themselves up to you, took everything from them and gave it to other people who never worked for any of it. Oh, I know what people are thinking. Well, you sound like a racist, man. No, I'm not a racist, I'm a realist. And also, according to the left, because of the color of my skin, apparently I can't be racist, but oh wait. I'm a conservative, so according to the left also, that makes me a white supremacist, despite the color of my skin. You see how sad the tactics are? This is what I'm trying to explain here. So now they want to keep you from knowing this information. Peachy. This is how it begins. Because guess what? It will reach a point to where it will have to be enforced. Okay, we said you can't say this online. Well, we know people, if they're not going to say it online, they're still going to say it. So we need to give incentives for people to turn in, which is what Mayorkas even says. We need them to turn in their friends and family that say things that we don't approve of. They need to be re-educated. Yes. We have a problem in the United States. And we try and dance around it, and we try and act like, oh, this will pass. But no, let's be honest with ourselves. The Democratic Party of the United States has gone to absolute shit. The Republicans they're not great. They're not the greatest party. They have major flaws. But I mean, compared to what the Democrats are offering and have done, they're looking like honey and ambrosia. And that should even scare people. But I want to go ahead and jump into a couple quick segments. So let's go ahead and jump into Maria Bartiromo's show. And she has Senator Johnson on. Let's give that a quick listen.
The new arbiters of truth, the very people who have misled the American people, want to tell you what's truth and what isn't. The Biden administration this week announced a new disinformation governance board within the Department of Homeland Security, the second largest agency behind the Department of Defense. Biden has placed Nina Jankowicz to run this division, who has tweeted misinformation in the past several years, including these tweets that President Trump colluded with Russia and that Hunter Biden's laptop was disinformation. This, of course, coming to us years after all of the disinformation from Democrats.
Our message has been straightforward and simple, and it's true. The border is closed.
The data shows that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary.
You can see evidence in plain sight on the issue of collusion, pretty compelling evidence.
Nothing has changed about what I said yesterday. The president does not get involved in the business dealings of his son.
But let me be clear. Any American who wants to come home, we will get you home.
All of those were lies. All of them were absolute lies. Isn't Biden the same guy that said, I won't allow sexual harassment or mistreatment of women in my administration? If you do that, you're gone on the first day. And, that actually happened. And they made excuses for why they didn't do it, i.e. they were lying and full of shit. But let's continue with this.
Well, unfortunately, they did not come home. Joining me right now to separate the truth from disinformation is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, who sent a letter to DHS Secretary Mayorkas this week asking for information about this disinformation governance board, and James Comer, ranking member of the Oversight Committee, who has documented influence peddling by Hunter Biden. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us this morning. Ron Johnson, let me kick this off with you and get your reaction to this new division the Biden administration is starting, Disinformation Governance Board.
Good morning, Maria. Well, the First Amendment to our Constitution states that Congress shall pass no law abridging the freedom of speech. So we've passed no such law. The president's job is to faithfully execute the law, so he has no authority to do this. This is Orwellian. This is a ministry of truth. And the person they've appointed is a Democrat propagandist. She pushed the Russian collusion with the Trump campaign hoax. She pushed the hoax that the laptop was some form of Russian information campaign. Those are probably two of the most egregious and I would say effective piece of disinformation. They had more impact on our body politic, on our elections, than anything else I could think of, and certainly had a greater impact than anything Russia ever could have dreamed of. And she was leading the charge on that disinformation. You can't make this up. This is the exact person that this administration now is appointed to head this unconstitutional disinformation governance board. This is outlandish. It should not be funded. It should never be established.
And again, I got to go back to this. This is their attempt to be able to sway and alter the coming midterm elections. The same thing we saw with Google and Yahoo and all the big tech sites, Facebook, that said that they were working to sway the election. They were trying to come up with a way to prevent Donald Trump from winning. They were trying to find ways to prevent people from accessing certain information, blocking people and banning them and shadow banning them if they talked about certain things or they gave an opinion that they didn't like. So it went from just that to they created an entire agency that is their job to control what you as American citizens are allowed to see and hear. They do not want you to hear the truth about what the Democrats are up to coming up to this midterm election. They do not want you to know what what teachers are treating and doing to your children in schools. They do not want you to know their lack of funding and their lack of ability to help the poor in this country. But for some reason, they're able to keep coming up with funds out of their buttholes to give to every place else in the world. They're telling you that, oh, we can't build border walls because that's racist. But at the same time, they're passing in all their budgets, funding for other nations to build border walls, to be able to protect their citizens from criminals coming in from other countries, and to prevent illegal immigration. Understand that the United States is literally paying for other countries to build walls to prevent illegal immigration, as they are telling you that it's the most racist thing in the world, and the U.S. should not be doing that. People have said the longest time, the reason that you can't get the World Economic Forum's change and all this nonsense that UN wants to do and whatnot is because the United States hasn't fallen. Until the United States falls to socialism or communist controls, they just can't get their foothold in it. And they're trying by wanting to take away your weapons, as Japanese generals said during the World War II, that one of the main reasons that there will never be a successful attack on American soil is because there's a gun behind every blade of grass. And the rest of the world knows that. And the United Nations knows that. Which is why your Democrat administrators, every time they get in power, work with the UN in order to try and take away your weapons. They've been trying for a long time, and they, just keep putting up a fight. But again, that's a little off topic. But the honest truth is that they are attempting to prevent you from having access to information. This governance board is not just going to be a matter of, oh, we're trying to make sure that there's not misinformation on social media platforms. No, they're going to go after small websites. They're going to go after independent journalists. Those people will be removed from the internet and not allowed to have a voice. You're going to be out here peddling truth like people are out and trying to peddle English lessons in parks. Hey, man, $20 for an English lesson. Hey, bro, look, man, $20 and I give you some of that good news about what's happening with the election, man. I'll give you the truth. I'll give you the truth, man. I mean, we're going to reach a point, and I highly fear this happening, but I have a feeling that it's going to happen to where things like C-SPAN, the Democrats are going to attempt to pull live congressional feeds from people. I have a feeling that they're going to say that it is a threat to national security if the general public is allowed to watch Senate Judiciary meetings and, nominations and, long story short, watching the functions of government. I'm pretty sure that they would love to have it like most places where everything is done behind closed doors and the citizens don't have any idea what's going on. But I want to play one last clip, and this is Ron DeSantis giving his view on what the White House administration is attempting to do. It's just a quick bit, but it's worth hearing.
As if they don't have enough issues to deal with, they now have an idea, and I honestly thought this was just a belated April Fool's joke, but they are actually going to create in the Department of Homeland Security a Bureau of Disinformation. It's basically a Ministry of Truth. And what they want to do is they want to be able to put out false narratives without people being able to speak out and fight back. They want to be able to say things like Russia collusion and perpetuate hoaxes and then have people like us be silenced. They want to be able to advocate for COVID lockdowns. They want to be able to advocate for school closures, things that are not supported by the evidence, but then when you speak out, they want to stifle dissent.
Exactly. And I hope we have more governors and more senators and more congressional members come out and voice their opinions and give people the actual truth and attempt to shut this down. The White House, it's funny because Jen Psaki was being asked about it recently, and she kept saying, well, this was started during the previous administration. I love how they keep trying to put the blame on the previous administration. So so what they're saying, it's not as bad. Well, the previous administration was doing, no, they weren't. They didn't have a government disinformation board. Stop you lying. She's literally saying that we're continuing the work of the previous administration. Stop lying. Stop getting up on the podium and lying to the American people like that. I hope that these things are enough for people to see that come these midterm elections, you will not vote Democrat because, as you can see, they do not have your best interest at heart. I want to close this episode out, though, with something that people really need to understand. If you've never read the book 1984, I highly recommend you read it. I know that it was general reading for us as children. We actually had to read that in school. I don't know if it is anymore, but I would hope so. If you haven't read it, and I don't know, maybe if you don't want to read a book, they did kind of make a movie about it. It's not quite the same, but it kind of gives you an idea. It's a very deep, thought-provoking film as well as novel, and I highly recommend, if you haven't experienced them yet, either or, that you do that. But I want to leave you with this, and I'm pulling this off of Wikipedia, and it's an explanation of what the Ministry of Truth is in the book of 1984. Okay, and this is important. The Ministry of Truth is involved with news, media, entertainment, the fine arts, and educational books. Its purpose is to rewrite history, to change the facts to fit party doctrine for propaganda effect. For example, Big Brother makes a prediction that turns out to be wrong. The employees of the Ministry of Truth correct the record to make it accurate. And this is literally what the White House has been doing the entire time that Biden has been in office. This guy comes out, makes a gaffe, says some nonsense, and they're later sending out press reports. Well, that's not what he said. That's not what you saw. No. It was out of context. No. Here's what he meant. And the thing is, as well as administering the truth, the ministry spreads a new language amongst the populace called newspeak, in which, for example, truth is understood to mean statements like 2 + 2 = 5 when the situation warrants it. And where have we heard 2 + 2 = 5, especially when the situation warrants it? We've heard it from the leftist teachers that want to tell you that mathematics is racist. Mathematics upholds white supremacy. Expecting a black child to say that 2 + 2 = 4 is racist. If the child wants 2 + 2 to = 5, it should equal 5 because that's his personal truth. Yeah, well, his personal truth, when put into practice, such as things like, building rockets, ships, homes, mixing chemicals for labs, his personal truth could end up harming people. So no, 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 5 because he wants it. 2 plus equals 2. 2 plus 2 equals 4. I'm getting a little carried away there. Because that's the right answer. And people need to step up and stop letting these people destroy the education of the next generation. They are working their damnedest to make sure that there is a generation of stupid people. Why? Because they don't ever expect to leave office. And people say that, oh, they won't be around. Yes, they will be around. And that's the hope. That's the goal. Think about it. Joe Biden's been serving in politics over 47 years. That man has been serving in politics longer than I have been alive. So you can't sit here and try and tell me they won't be here because guess what? He's still here. Nancy Pelosi, she is still there. And many of you are not familiar with Strom Thurmond unless you caught my previous episodes. But the amount of time that man served is absolutely ridiculous. So this idea that it's okay to let them get away with it because they won't be there and we'll change it later. No. You never change it later. It never gets changed later. And that's the part that people don't understand. That once it happens, there's really no going back to it. You voted for Biden. You voted for these Democrats. You put them in power. This is the situation. And it's going to be a long time coming away from this. It's going to take a whole lot of work to repair the damage that they have done. But I hope everybody understand that this ministry of truth that they've created is not a ministry of truth. It's a ministry of propaganda. And its goal is to make sure that you, the American citizen, do not know the truth. And I hope that you don't let them get away with that. And remember, make sure you're registered to vote come November. And don't let them get you down. Don't let them get you down. Do not let them lie to you this way. But I thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.